yet another story that is hard to believe coming out of Uber. What exactly do we know in terms of what happened here?
It's so crazy. More than a year ago, Uber heard from these hackers that they had found a way to get information, names, telephone numbers, that sort of information on 50 million riders, and then information on 7 million drivers, and most importantly, driver's license numbers for 600,000 drivers. And the concern here is that that's information that Uber was required to disclose and didn't. And so now, more than a year later, with a new CEO, Dara Khosrowshahi, the company is deciding to come forward and say that they should have disclosed this information, and here's what happened.
So Dara Khosrowshahi telling you none of this should have happened. I will not make excuses for it. We are changing the way we do business. Uber has been negotiating with regulators over privacy issues now for a long time. What makes them think that they could get away with something like this?
Yeah, while they were talking to the Federal Trade Commission, and just after negotiations with the New York Attorney General, they faced the question of what to do about this hacking. And it's hard to imagine this engenders any sort of trust with regulators. You already saw in the instance in London where regulators there revoked Uber's license, that part of the issue was they just didn't trust Uber, and that the company hadn't really represented very clearly what had gone on. And this is yet another sign that Uber was willing to go to great lengths to hide information that it now believes it was required to report from regulators. And that's certainly going to give cities, states, and national governments all over the world serious pause.
Now, how can we be sure that this information didn't get into anybody else's hands and that the hackers did indeed delete this information?
Right. I mean, normally hackers will sometimes wait and sit on information, so that's certainly a concern. I think Uber's belief here is that they did pay the $100,000. They had evidence, perhaps, that the files were actually deleted. We don't know who these hackers were, but they refer to them as, these two individuals. So I think right now there's a belief that that information isn't out there in the public. And of course, Uber's offering, data protection for the drivers affected by the most serious information breach here.